Visitors to Pasadena may be surprised to hear a squawking in the sky and look up to see flocks of wild parrots. Locals have been familiar with these feathered citizens for many decades. In fact, the only thing more numerous than the birds themselves are the various theories about how they came to reside in Pasadena. Early chronicles of the birds can be found in the pages of the Pasadena Star-News. Russ Liederbrand took particular interest in the subject in his Off the Beaten Path columns. In a column from 1965, expert Dr. John Hardy explains the presence of the birds. Few of them are migrants. Most of them escaped cage birds, and some have been released by their owners.
I was told that there was a pet shop, and the pet shop caught on fire, and the owner did not want the birds to die, so rather than see them die in a fire, he let them all go before it got too bad.
As far as I know, there used to be a pet store in the Pasadena area that burnt down, and then the parrots escaped essentially, and they've been flying around ever since.
Though different stores and locations are cited depending on who you talk to, one of the most common mentioned origins is the fire that occurred at Simpson's Garden Town in East Pasadena. However, an article from November 30th, 1959 details this fire and quotes employees as saying just one bird survived while the rest perished in the blaze. Others point to the closures of the Busch Garden parks in Pasadena and later Van Nuys as possible origins of the parrots. Or could it have been a smuggler that brought the parrots from Mexico to Southern California? An article from May 27, 1958 details a police seizure of 1,500 Mexican parrots being illegally imported. Where did the parrots go after being held in police custody? We took a journey to the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles to meet with renowned ornithologist Kimball Garrett to hear his scientific opinion.
I take care of a collection of about 120,000 bird specimens that are used for research. But I also get involved as much as possible in some of the exhibits and programs we do here in aiding the research of others who use our collection, adding to the collection, and doing local research on birds here in the Los Angeles area. This is the red crown parrot. This is the one that we have several thousand of in Southern California, and a good chunk of those are in the Pasadena area in the San Gabriel Valley. It's native to northeastern Mexico. This is the one you'll see coming in by the hundreds to roost in parts of Pasadena, Altadena, Temple City, other areas there. Closely related is the lilac crowned parrot, which is native to western Mexico. So they don't normally see each other, but they both occur together here, and we suspect they might even hybridize. They're very similar. You have to learn to look at the shape, the longer tail of the lilac crown, slightly different patterns of red and lilac on the head and so on. This is the yellow-headed parrot. This is a prize cage bird. We don't have as many of these, but there's still many dozens of them in the Pasadena area, and they're really good talkers, popular cage birds, and they have almost a human-like voice compared to the other parrots. Then we have a handful of other parrots. I've just picked a couple of these out. This is called the Mitered Parakeet. This one's from South America on the slopes of the Andes. It looks very much like the red-crowned parrot, like the Amazons, but it has a much longer, pointier tail. The beak is relatively heavier. Their flight style is different. They sound different. We have many hundreds of these throughout the LA Basin, the coastal areas, and up into the San Gabriel Valley, and plus a couple of other related species. And then this little guy here, this is the yellow Chevron parakeet, named for that yellow patch on the wing. These are also native to South America in the Amazonian basin. And they're very common in the LA Basin and the San Gabriel Valley. They're much smaller than the other parrots, kind of a bright grass green with this yellow patch. They feed on a variety of plants that provide seed and nectar. So they'll get nectar from eucalyptus blossoms, from coral trees, but they love the seeds from the silk floss tree, which is widely planted throughout the LA area. So these are probably the most familiar and conspicuous of the upwards of 10 or 12 kinds of parrots that we have in Southern California, and Pasadena and the San Gabriel Valley are really ground zero for parrot abundance and diversity in our area. Our parrots, of course, have not migrated here on their own, and that's one thing that I want everybody to realize, that they're here only because we have brought them here. We seem to want to be able to pinpoint some exact origin of all our parrots, but in fact, they're here because of a long history of importation for the pet trade, and then probably many dozens, if not hundreds, of individual events that resulted in parrots escaping captivity. being released into the wild or escaping into the wild and then finding the resources they need. So yes, the stories about the pet shop burning down, or the wind blowing the roof off the pet shop, or aviaries closing down and releasing birds, many of these things probably happen, but it's really hard to pin down those exact instances. Some of our species, like the red crown parrot that is so abundantly established here, we can trace back to the 1960s, in some cases even a little earlier, although their populations really started booming in the 70s and 80s. But others we didn't even see around here till the early 1980s, even in some cases more recently. And so it isn't just one instance where somebody opened up an aviary and everything flew out and they've been living happily ever after. There's many different instances of events that caused our parrots to be released. Parrots, they're really fascinating birds. They're very social. That of course correlates with being very noisy too. So if you live around a few hundred parrots, you may not see the benefit of it as much as people who don't have to put up with that racket all the time, but their behavior is fascinating.
I'll look around, all of a sudden I'll see a couple of them go by, and it's really fun to watch during springtime because that's their mating season, and quite often you'll see two little tiny ones flying right in the back of them, just struggling to stay up with mommy and daddy. They're adorable.
Here we are decades later, and Pasadena's exotic bird population only seems to be growing. Next time you look up into the sky, take a moment to appreciate our tropical neighbors. That's it for this episode. Look for a new show next month, and make sure to follow us on social media and visit us at pasadenamedia.org. See you next time.